Hey guys, it's Kristina. So a lot of you are going back to college soon, and I've been getting a lot of requests on this channel and also on my vlogging channel to do like a college experience video and just talk about my experience, you know. And first of all, before I get into it, I want to say, you know, everybody's different. Everyone's experience is going to be different. Mine was very different, you know. Like, you're going to have some people who have like a full ride scholarships because they're an athlete, so all their time is dedicated to playing sports in college. There's some people who might be, you know, into partying because their parents are paying for their college. They don't work. They just, you know, go to class and maybe sometimes go to class and then party all the time. Then you might have a girl who's like a single mom. You know, she has to work. She has to take care of her kid and also go to class in between. You know, there's all kinds of different lifestyles that you might have and experiences in college. Not everyone's gonna have the same experience. There's no like one standard right way to go to college, you know what I mean? So mine was very different because I worked full-time. I didn't have somebody like paying for my college, you know, like rich parents or something like that. I worked full-time at clubs, which also meant that I got to go to clubs, which was also cool because I didn't go to like parties at, you know, my college, my university, you know, because you're too underage to get into clubs. So that was fun. So my experience, first of all, is going to be very different from like, you know, your standard experience, but I'm just here to answer some of your questions about it. So okay, first of all, I went to a local university here in Virginia, and I graduated in 4.5 years with my bachelor's degree. I got a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. I graduated pretty well, and I was also in a medical society while I was there, so you know, that was a good thing. But I also had to work full-time, so I went to school and I worked full-time the whole entire time, and that was very hard, you know. But what can you do? So let's back up. So first, when you get into college, of course, you have to make sure your GPA is good, your SATs are good, and nobody had told me about this, you know. I moved to America when I was 12, so I started 7th grade here, and then I took actually French in 8th grade. Like, I was already well enough with English that I could take French, so I took that in 8th grade, and then I went to high school, and I had good grades pretty much, but sometimes I slacked on the homework. I did do some sports. I did like a lot of different clubs and activities, which was also good. It looks good in your application to a college. And if you want me to do a separate video about like my high school experience, my middle school experience, I can totally do that for you guys. So just leave me a comment down below if you want me to do that. And also subscribe to my vlogging channel, by the way, because I wasn't sure if I should put this video up on this channel or my vlogging channel, because this channel is more like fashion and beauty. It has nothing to do with like life experience, but I have more subscribers on this channel. So just in case some of you don't know about my second channel, I will link it down below, as well as somewhere over here, so you can go subscribe. So I don't know where my high school video is gonna go, this one or the second channel, so just go subscribe to that one just in case. But anyways, I had nobody to teach me these things and tell me, because, you know, my mom didn't speak English well, like at first either, and she didn't know about high school. She didn't know about like the school system here. I had to figure it out all by myself, you know. I had to teach myself English. I mean, obviously I went to school, but you know what I mean, like I had to figure it out. Like, I didn't know about like the whole GPA, SAT thing until like maybe 11th grade, when you actually had to take the SATs and apply to colleges. I didn't know that. So if I had known that before, I would have definitely done better on my homework like 9th and 10th grade, because I slacked sometimes. I was just like, you know, like I was so good in class that I already understood the concepts, that like I didn't want to do the homework because it was just like tedious work for me, and I had like just other stuff to do with my time. And I was like, I wasn't a bad kid. Like, I never was like smoking weed and doing like bad things with my time, but I just, you know, sometimes slacked. And if I had somebody to sit there and tell me like you shouldn't do that, then maybe I would have done better. But anyways, that's beside the point. The point is that I didn't have anybody to hold my hand and tell me these things, like, you know, because obviously my mom's not from here. She doesn't know about like all these things that they have and stuff like that. Nobody had told me until the counselors in like 11th grade. They were like, you know, you have to take the SATs and blah blah blah, you have to apply to college, and this is your GPA now. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it was like a 3, I think. It was not like good in my eyes. So I had to pull it up a little bit like the last year, which I didn't work the last year. I worked to the 11th grade, but anyways, that's besides the point. That's for the high school video. But anyways, just do well, do your SATs well, have a good GPA, do well on your SATs, do some prep work for the SATs. I've never done any prep work for it, but I did pretty well. So I applied to some colleges in my area, in my state. I got into all the ones I applied to, but I applied to the ones in my area because I didn't apply to any that were like farther up, like UVA or VTech, because their GPA requirement was higher than what I had. So my counselor was like, you know, don't even apply to them. But all the ones in my area that I applied to that you don't have to travel to, I mean, I got into all those, so I just picked the best one that I thought was the best one. Like the requirements were the highest there for the local schools, so that's where I went. And I mean, I lived at home with my mom the whole time because like a lot of you had asked me if I like moved out for college and how I was moving out. I didn't move out because one, they didn't give you financial aid if you moved out, which was so weird to me. Like they give you less, I think, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me, because why would they give you less if you're already living on your own, paying your own bills? Like, you know what I mean? Like if you live with your parents, your bills would be less, right? Like that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But anyway, so I did move out. And also, by the way, like it's very normal for like adults, like if you're going to college, to live with your parents in like the Russian and Ukrainian culture. So like Eastern European, I know like some people here, like my friends who are like Bulgarian and stuff like that, they do the same thing. So it's not a weird thing. A lot of Americans think that's kind of weird. They're like, why don't you move out when you're 18, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I had like my own freedom, and I worked clubs, I did whatever I want. I had a boyfriend. It wasn't like, you know, I was like tied down, like I couldn't go party or something like that. It's not like that at all. But I did live at home. And I had to pay all my own bills. I even paid rent with my mom, like I helped her out. So I did have to work the entire time, which sucked. And I worked at clubs. I started working at the club like when I was still in high school, so it wasn't something I got into in college. I just continued on with it. I worked at various different clubs, and it was just working with my schedule because I could go to school in the daytime and then work at nighttime, so it worked perfectly. The only thing is I never slept. Like literally I would go to class all day long, come home, do some homework, get ready for work, go to work, and come home after work at like 3 a.m., do homework till like 6 a.m., then have like 2-3 hours of sleep and go back to class. And literally it was just like that all the time. It was so bad. So the only time I really got to party was either when I was at work, I would just drink, you know, because they didn't care, or I would just have sometimes a night off and I would go out. But it was also cool because I could go out underage and I didn't have to worry about it. So I've never went to like a party at my college, like ever. I knew people who invited me to parties, but I was just like, oh, that's lame. Like I don't want to go to a house party. I want to go to a club, you know, dress up, be up there with like the DJ and the VIP and stuff like that. Like, so I just had more fun with it that way. But anyways, so, but it was hard to have to work full-time and go to school full-time, of course. And then, what else? So my freshman, sophomore year were pretty cool. Like I did well in classes because I wasn't working as much and stuff like that. It was pretty chill. And then I got into a medical society because a DJ that I had worked with at a club, he was actually the president of it. It was Alpha Epsilon Delta. Well, first of all, I've never had the appeal to join any sorority. I don't know, I just never did. They tried to approach me my freshman year and I was just like, I don't know about that, because it just seemed like so much work. Plus I heard like some sororities can be very bitchy, but plus they have so many rules, like you have to attend this, you have to do that, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's for, I feel like, more people that live on campus and they don't have friends. Like they want to get to know people and have activities to do. They live like maybe in a house with a bunch of girls, so it would be cool for that, but it just wasn't for me. I already had friends outside of the college that I hung out with, that I partied with, that I had just, you know, friends for everything, not just for partying. I don't want to sound like a party girl, but you know what I mean. Like I already had a lot of friends and that was just not for me. Like I didn't need to sit there and fit in. Like I didn't live on campus, so like I commuted, I drove, of course. So I don't know, I just never had appealed to me, that whole sorority thing. But then he'd actually invited me. He was like, I need a social chair, you know, to organize all of our events, because something had happened. I think they graduated the previous person that held that position, so he needed somebody, because of course you have like these positions in the medical society, or like anywhere, like you have the president, vice president, you have like the secretary, everything like that. So he invited me to do that, so I did that, and I was actually the social chair as well as a regular member of Alpha Epsilon Delta, and we got to do a lot of cool things. We got to go to Florida for a convention where not the Surgeon General, but the guy below him had come to speak to everybody. You got to meet like members of other states, Alpha Epsilon Deltas, and it was just a cool experience. We went to Tampa. It was awesome. You get to attend these meetings. You have like people come like from other universities and medical schools and dental schools and podiatry, like orthodontics, everything you can think of. Like these members, these people who like are on a panel for you to get in, who review your applications, interview you, they come and actually talk to you at like the room at large and give you tips on how to get in and stuff like that. It was just a really cool society to be a part of, because I was actually debating on doing biology instead of psychology, and then I eventually went with psychology, which I'll explain in a second. But I've always been interested in biology and medical things, so I really enjoyed being a part of that. And I was a social chair for I think 2 years, and then I think my last year a lot of the members had, you know, fallen off. Kind of like the president that was my friend, he didn't want to be president. Like, he didn't have time. Not that he didn't like it, but he didn't, I think he didn't have time because he was doing his, like, I think doctors, or I don't know, it was just a lot of things you have to do, you know. It's just, you really don't have the time. And a lot of the other members who held positions at AED, they had graduated, so it wasn't like that fun anymore, like as far as, you know, the people to be around. So I just kind of stopped doing it. In my last year I didn't do that. I was still a member there, so I just attended the meetings and things like that, but I didn't you know, hold a position where I actually had like to organize events and everything like that. But it was cool to be a part of, though, and I really enjoyed it. I went to some football games. I did go to like tailgates and stuff like that, so I did have some friends at, you know, my college. Of course, I hung out there. It's not like I just never went there to hang out at all. It's not like that, but I just was more of like, you know, I did things outside of there. I just came there to class, did my things, you know, I hung out in the library a lot. So yeah. What else? I'm trying to think. Definitely have one thing I would say that's different for about college than compared to high school is nobody's gonna hold your hand. That's the biggest tip I can give you, is manage your time well. Because I know so many people who failed college not because they were dumb, but because they were either lazy, they didn't do their work, you know, they just partied a lot, or they didn't attend class enough, or they just mismanaged their time, like they just didn't do things right. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's real, it's for real. Like, nobody's gonna hold your fucking hand in college. It's not high school where teachers are like breathing down your neck, like, did you do your homework? Make sure you do your homework. Like, if you don't have your assignment done on the due date, if you don't turn it in, whether it's online, in person, whatever, like, that's it. Like, nobody's gonna give you another chance, or like, you know, be like, oh, don't forget, children, like, blah blah blah. Like, you have to manage your time. You have to know when you have to work, when you have to go to class, when you have to do homework. Write everything down, have a planner, whatever, you know, just make sure you do everything. So I would write down in my planner what homework I had to do which day, for what class, which assignments, when tests were. Like, you'll get a syllabus on the first day of class, and it will tell you all the assignments, all the tests, all the important dates that you have to know. And make sure that you write down all of those important dates into your planner. So every test, every assignment that's due, that's important, you know, write it all into your planner so you don't forget, because nobody's gonna remind you, trust me. Like, you know, it's, come on, you know, it's college. Also about classes, it's not the same as high school at all, trust me. If you have a miserable time in high school, wait till college. It's way different. People are way, you know, nicer, more open-minded. Just nobody really cares. It depends, of course, on the school you go to, because, you know, some colleges are small, some are very large. It depends. My college, I think, was maybe like 20 to 25,000 people, something like that. But you have different classes. I've had very small classes. You know, I forgot to say, like, high school, I took French, so I ended up taking it for like the whole high school, and Spanish. So then I continued with both of those in college. So those two classes are probably the smallest ones I've ever had, because I don't know, they were just super small, like maybe 10 people if you're like in advanced ones. Same with like history, but the big classes I had was like statistics, biology, intro classes, like intro psych, intro like everything. Those classes can be like 200 people. So literally, like, nobody's gonna care, you know, if you do something. Like, nobody's gonna, it's not like high school where people are like, oh my god, like, the girl, like, blah blah blah, like, talking shit. Like, it's not like that at all. Like, people don't give a fuck. Like, they're there to do their work, and then they leave, and they have other shit to do. Like, everybody has a life, so it's not like high school at all. So that's a good thing. What else? Oh, the reason I graduated late, I was actually trying to graduate early. What happened was I got sick 2 semesters where I had to repeat them, because my junior semester, like, once you work so much, like, first of all, my immune system is already shit, because ever since I've been little, I was always sick all the time. Like, asthma attacks, bronchitis, colds, everything you can name. I was just always sick all the time. Like, I couldn't do exercise when I was younger, like in Ukraine, when I was a small child, because I just would, like, get sick. I don't know, it was always bad. So once you're like working all the time and going to school and you don't sleep, it takes a toll on your body. So I remember every fall I would get sick. Every fall, like not spring, I don't know why, it was so weird, but every fall, like around November, I would always get sick. So I would go to school like August, September, October, and my body slowly started to like, you know, I'm pushing the limits here. And then November, I would always get sick every fall. My junior year, I got sick so bad that I had to miss 2 weeks of school, which after that, I just basically dropped out of my classes, because if you miss so much like important things, you really can't make it up. That's another thing about it. So I had to drop them so I wouldn't get an F. So I just dropped the courses, and just like the important ones, the easy ones where like they don't care if you attend or not. That's another thing. Like some teachers, or I'm sorry, professors, they will care. They will write down, like everybody has to sign their name. If you miss like 5 classes, like you get an F. Some classes, some professors don't give a fuck. They just like, you know, as long as you come to do your test and you pass, then you're good. They don't care. So it's different. But you know, I missed a lot of classes, so I had to repeat them in the spring. And then the next fall, my senior year, I got sick again. And I was just like, what the fuck? Because I actually worked hard. I attended summer school for like 2 summers or 3 summers where I did some classes, so that way I would graduate early. I wanted to graduate like 3.5 years. And yeah, that didn't happen. So I got sick again November of my senior year, so I had to repeat those classes in the spring, and then I had 1 extra semester to do. So I had the option to either graduate in May and then do some courses that summer, but then I wouldn't get to walk, like the graduation walk, or I could just do them in the fall and graduate in December. So that's what I did. So I still graduated on the same year. So like I graduated high school in 2008, and then I graduated college in 2012. So still 4 years later, it's not like a big deal. And I did have a vlog also that I did on this channel, so you guys know I graduated, whatever. But yeah. So that's the reason that I did 4.5 years, unfortunately, but it wasn't a big deal really. Like, you know, at first I was like thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna have like this big party when I graduate. By the time that shit rolled around, I didn't give a fuck. I was just like, oh my god, I just want to be done. Like, can we be done? But it was cool because that December, it was also my birthday. You know, you have like Christmas, New Year's, and then the next month, January, I got my citizenship. So it was just a lot of things going on that time. So it was cool. What else? I'm thinking, what else did I forget to mention? Oh, so I did graduate with a 3.4 GPA, and I feel like that's okay. Like, I could have done better if I didn't have to work. So if I had parents paying for my college, I probably would have, you know, I could have graduated at 4.0 if I had like a lot of time to do all my homework, everything like that, you know, and not work. And yeah, it would have been way easier, but I didn't. And that's another thing. So about financial aid and, you know, how I paid for college and everything like that. Basically, the way I paid for it is, you know, of course I didn't have any parents to help me, but like I did have some financial aid. So every February you apply, you know, you pull your FAFSA application in and you apply for financial aid if you were, you know, qualified, and you have to put in like how much you make, how much your parents make, everything like that. And of course, especially helped that, you know, I was waitressing, so it was working for tips, so that helped definitely, that I didn't have like big paychecks, of course, you know, because it was cash. So I did have some financial aid. They would give me like either grants. I did have one scholarship that I got, but it was only like $1,500, and that was like my freshman year I got that. But after that, I didn't apply for a lot of scholarships. I don't know, because it was like a hassle kind of, but there's definitely a lot of scholarships out there for you to apply for. So financial aid, I would say they paid maybe like half of my tuition, you know, as far as like grants that you don't have to pay back. And then the rest of it, so like every semester, you know, you get your breakdown. They give you like a sheet and it tells you how much you owe them, right? Because every class is different and it depends how many credits you're taking, so every time it's going to be different. So I would say about approximately they paid for half of it, and then the other half I would pay, you know, in my own money, like pay cash, like from working. And then whatever money I didn't have enough, like if I didn't have enough cash to pay for it, I would take out a loan. I really tried not to take a lot of loans out, because then you're paying them back for years and years. I have one of my friends who graduated from the same university with an engineering degree, and he didn't work or anything like that, you know, and he ended up owing like I think 60 grand, and of course it's more if you live in campus, which he did. So I didn't want to owe that much, so I tried not to take loans out if I could. I just wanted to work and pay cash for it. But I did end up owing, I think, like 12 grand at the end when I graduated, so I'm still paying that off. Like you do monthly payments just like any car payments or something like that you get, like a house payment, so I'm still paying that off. But yeah, you can definitely get a lot of like grants and scholarships, so try that. And then I also posted on Instagram today for you guys to leave me questions for this video. So I'm going to delete this after, but I had a couple of people ask me some questions. So Pre's Bless, she says, do you have a hard time keeping grades up and working? I think she meant did you have, because I'm not in college anymore, I graduated. But I mean, it was very hard as far as like physically it was hard because you don't sleep a lot. You're always tired. Literally, like sometimes in class I'd be sitting there like this, like falling asleep. It was just bad. And I remember I had this class with one of my Russian friends, and he actually ended up like leaving for a year actually because it was just too much because he was working as well, so it's hard. And that's another thing, like that's what I was saying about like failing. It's not sometimes that you're stupid, it's just like you have so much to do. You have to learn how to manage your time well and just not be lazy with your homework and stuff like that, you know. And then Bonjour mi amiga says, what other majors interested you? Okay, that's a good question because I forgot to mention that. So first, when I came into my college, I signed up the first day. You sign like what major you want to do, and I put psychology just because I was always interested in that, and one of my friends had, you know, started the college I was at, and he did that psychology, so I just put it down. But I knew I could change it within like the first 2 years because you're just doing like gen eds pretty much the first 2 years, so I knew I could change it later if I wanted to, and you wouldn't get in the way of like my credits. But then I ended up like kind of sticking with it because I was debating between biology and psych. And biology, they told me I had to do 2 years of chemistry, which I don't know why, but I hated chemistry. I think it was because of my high school teacher. He was always so mean to everybody in our class, including me, everybody. He was just so mean, so I hated it on principle, and I was like, I don't know about that. So I went with psychology, and after, I mean, I already enjoyed psychology, you know. I was just kind of like on a verge between two, because a lot of people, they'll say like, oh, psychology is for like people who don't know what else to pick. Like I don't know why they say that, but like I always enjoyed psychology. I always enjoyed things about like learning about the brain and personalities ever since I was like in high school. So I don't know where they get that from, but that wasn't the case for me. I really enjoyed it. And after I was already into psychology for like a year or two, I found out that you have to do 2 years of statistics, which is a lot of math, and you have to do papers, you have to make up studies, you have to do experiments, so it's still a lot of math. It's the same thing as chemistry, so I was just like, oh my gosh, like if I knew that, I probably would have just went with biology, but whatever. And I was also debating on doing like international studies or something, but that was like the arts and letters, and I was like, no, I want to have a science degree. I was always into science, and psychology was science, because you do have to do a lot of math and experiments. And then she also said, did you take any interesting classes that weren't related to your major? Yes, you do have to take some classes for your gen eds. You have to fulfill their requirements, which is another cool thing about college, is that you pick your own classes. Nobody's gonna sit there and tell you, you know how sometimes in high school you have like the option to do an art class, and they're like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do drawing or painting or photography? What do you want to do? And you have to pick. But here you get more pick. I mean, of course there's classes that you have to fulfill the requirements for in order to graduate, but then other classes you'll have some options. So like under each category on your like little sheet, you have the options, and you also can check off which ones you've done and kind of plan ahead for the next semesters and years which classes you can do and you want to do. So that's another thing, is you plan your own schedule. Nobody's gonna hold your hand and be like, oh my god, you have to do this class, blah blah blah. No, if you don't do it right, it's just gonna take you longer. I've had friends that have done that. They'll be like, oh, this class looks interesting, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't need that class for your major. It's just gonna, I mean, it counts as like credit to graduate, but it doesn't count towards your major. You're still gonna have to do something else for your major. Like you can't graduate until you do. And they're like, oh, it's okay. And then like a few semesters later, they're like, oh fuck, why did I take that class? It was a waste of time. Now I'm gonna take like 6 years to do my bachelor's, and I'm just like, duh, like I told you this, come on. So just manage your time well. That's what I did. I never took any classes that I didn't need. If I, you know, had to pick a class, that I had some classes that were interesting. I took history of dance, I took photography, I took, you know, Spanish and French. Those were always interesting. I took painting. So those were cool, but those, you know, were in the categories that I had to fulfill in order to graduate. Like I needed either a credit or I needed some sort of like, you know, like artsy class, I guess, whatever. So it counted, you know. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna just go take that, you know. Of course you can if you are trying to waste some time, yeah, but if you don't need it, then it's just kind of stupid, you know. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. If I forgot anything, just leave me some questions down below. I might do like a part 2 or something if I forgot any important things, but I think that is pretty much it. I'm sorry this video is getting super long, but I wanted to include all the information that I could like tell you about that was important to me, you know. Also, I don't know about other universities, but mine, they always give you tickets for parking, but that was so stupid. Our university never had enough parking. It was like in the dumbest, most busiest location, and we never had parking, so the decals you had to buy every semester were so fucking expensive, and then on top of that you still got tickets if like you come to go to your class. Like I had to commute it, like I said, and you know there's no parking, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna be late for my test, I have to go like now. I was just parking a little parking spot real quick where I'm not supposed to park, like a teacher spot, not like one assigned teacher because that's bad, they'll tell you, but like, you know, if it just says like floor 1 is faculty and then you park there, I'll come back and there's a ticket. So that was fucking annoying, so I spent so much money on parking there. But yeah, other than that, I loved my university. I would highly recommend it. And if you live in Virginia, you can definitely like message me on Instagram or something like that, or on Twitter, and like I'll tell you where, like which one I went to. But I just don't want to, I don't know, I don't want to say, but you can watch my vlog if you want to, like I'll link it below. So yeah, so that is it. I'm gonna go before this video gets like an hour long. But if you like this video, please thumbs up and subscribe, and also check out my vlogging channel like I said, and add me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I will have all my links down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.